live, so I know it looks weird because I'm like reading, and it's like they want to give you a tutorial when you go live. So they want to show me how to control the chat, which would be great because we sometimes have some funny business going on in the chat. But I can't do it while I'm live. That'd be nice to send me as an email. Let me work through that prior. I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting situated because now that I can see myself, I can see that the camera looks a little weird. But we're here. Welcome to a moment of harmony. Welcome to a Saturday moment in the 10 o'clock hour as our regularly scheduled programming is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited for us to get into all that we're going to get into today. I don't know why I don't do this before because you know what? I don't feel it before. But I have tons of work always to my right and I'm right-handed. So that's probably why it's always over there. And I don't need anything to restrict me. Okay, Aqua Gang. Aqua Gang. I don't need anything to restrict me while I'm trying to get into it. For all of us to get into it. I'm sorry, y'all. This is crazy. This is crazy. Okay. It's not on a slant anymore, and we're all here. Again, welcome to a moment of harmony. We are going through our meiotic moments. We are going through the 42 laws of Ma'at. We are finding practical tools and resolutions to being able to build our characters and become our more greater selves. A lot of times, I always reiterate, a lot of times, or iterate, and now I'm reiterating. Okay. So a lot of times we work on ourselves. We want the best for ourselves. We want to be better for ourselves. And so we begin a plan for our finances. We begin a plan for our fitness. We start some type of plan for what our hobbies are or the way we spend our time. But we do not always develop a plan for the betterment and improvement of our inner selves, right? Our character, our beingness. And it can get us into really being imbalanced in our growth and our development and trying to figure out why we're putting so much effort into having better experiences, better lives, and we are still coming out which seemingly, sorry y'all, seemingly not on top, seemingly coming out still imbalanced. And it is because the character is a major component to your growth and your development. Your character is a major component to you becoming who it is. You have what you are. You have, things are the way you are. And so if you still have components to yourself that need to be developed as far as being focused or disciplined, as far as your how you communicate with people, how you deal with circumstances, then you're going to continue to draw in these uneasy, imbalanced circumstances and situations, and we don't want that. So we are going through meiotic moments because it is really providing a great compass or a great blueprint to the character and how we see ourselves, how we work through ourselves, how we work with ourselves in order to mold ourselves into a better self. So welcome, welcome, welcome again to a moment of harmony as we are going in or in this series of meiotic moments, and we are moving through the 42 laws of Ma'at. Now I also want to give the disclaimer that the Kemetic history and culture and the sciences and the ways of civilization that were taught to me, that I understand, that were a part of my lesson, that were a part of my development, are not a part of everyone's development. I have no issue with that. And I don't think you should have any issue with that. I am always going to come from my point of reference, my point of study, my point of gathering, and my growth and development. And I'm sharing with you practical ways and ideas and thoughts, and we're having a dialogue and a discussion around how we can expand our perspectives. Now, this is in no way of me saying that you need to subscribe or be a certain way. Now, subscribe to my channel, yes. Kingdom did tell me that. That part, yes. But subscribe to my way of thinking or my ideologies or what it is that I believe in or where I'm coming from. Listen, I'm the queen of do you, but just do you in a better way so that we can all be us, okay? We can all do us. Do you better so that we can all get better. That's all I want. However it is you do you, do that. And I hope that in some way we just are being able to share spaces where we can contribute, expand, grow, and become. So that is what we are doing when we're working through the 42 laws of Mayat. Whether you are familiar with them or they are foreign to you, and you're just like, what even is, listen, understand I'm coming from a spiritual practice system of myself, and as a healer, as a wellness practitioner, as an educator, coming here on this platform to share what it is that I think that we all can work together, myself included, in order to be in a better position for a better life, for a better existence for us all. So no one needs to feel left out in the growing and the developing. No one needs to feel any pressure. Everyone just needs to be working towards their better selves. If that's where you're going to, you want better function of your body, you want to heal and become, you need to be able to work through traumas and upsets and frustrations and dysfunctions. You want to develop yourself into a much better, stronger, wiser, clearer, more peaceful version of yourself, and then have your life reflect that, then you're in the right place, okay? No matter your walk of life, you're in the right place. So, welcome again. I cannot say welcome enough because, again, always a pleasure to be joined and exchange with others who are like minded as we grow and become better together. Okay, so 42 Laws of Mayat. We're at week number 15. Yay, you. Okay. 15 weeks of going into ourselves, 15 weeks of looking into our Mayatic principles, 15 weeks into looking into the laws of development and beingness and character that are really going to put us in a more positive mind frame. So you have 15 weeks of raising your vibration in this situation, and I'm super duper proud of you, grateful for you, and moved to be a part of it with you. I'm always honored to be a part of your self-care routine, and also honored to grow with you because I'm sitting right next to you. You know what I'm saying? So we this week are in the law of I have not assaulted anyone. I am really wanting to go into this with the way of the world and the way of the now. I just really want us to get into talking about this. A couple of things just before we get into this week's I was going to say principle, but before we get into this week's law. I don't know why this is bugging me so much, y'all. I'm sorry. I can see things that y'all can't see, and unfortunately all y'all can see is me keep moving this camera, and I wish that you couldn't, but you can, because I can keep seeing that things seem like really, I can see the whole outside, and it's like, bear with me, mommy mercy, and perfectionist mercy, okay, for those of us who need things to be just right. What was I gonna say? Before we get into this week's law, I would like to quickly just thank everyone for all the love, all of the support, all of the care and kindness. People really are kind. Like, we really are great as a species, the human beings. I have a saying that I put on Facebook: the most human thing you can do is to be divine, or divine. There is nothing more divine than humanity. That's what I said as a Harmony original. And I stand by that today. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your love and your support and your outpour to my mother, to the entire family. I have my coworkers that were supporting me, and I was not even in a fire. It was like, what, guys? Y'all know I'm like, here's my mom. But people just saying that you were connected to somebody that went through something and you have to support them, and we want to support you. Listen, this life is worth living. This life is a beautiful life. This life is extraordinary as long as we are always operating in our highest vibration. There is nothing like this life we're living right here today, as long as we're operating in the highest vibration possible. Now, I do believe in an afterlife. I do believe that we go on to function in other capacities of our spirit. But what I am saying is, right here, this is possible. This is not wasted space. This is not wasted time. This is not us just being somewhere until we get to glory. This is a immeasurable blessing to be in the physical realm of life. The physical realm of life should never be taken lightly. It should never be taken for granted. It should never be wasted and squandered away. It is a huge part of our spiritual development. And I just want to say that right here in this life, right here in this now, it is beautiful And it is extraordinary. The more beautiful and the more extraordinary we are to each other. I promise you, you'll love life if people are their highest selves. You'll love life more. We'll dread life less. We'll be, I mean, when everyone, our doctors, our landlords, our bosses, our neighbors, our friends, our sisters, our brothers, our parents, our cousins, our children, when people are operating, your spouse, your mate, when they're operating at the highest vibration, it's nothing sweet. Excuse me, nothing sweeter. Every time I get to move in my mouth all this time, all types of weird things want to happen with my body. So, excuse me for that. But there's nothing sweeter than this here life in the physical and the humanity that we show to one another in our highest levels of operation. What makes life scary, what makes life hard, what makes life dreadful, what makes life frustrating, which makes it torturous, is the low vibrational actions, the carelessness of one another towards one another. But when we are careful and full of care, full of love and always there, bars, we make this a pleasant, extraordinary experience. I always say this. I was in a very long-term relationship with a gentleman that did like he did reentry service or was it post incarceration rectification and things to that nature. So he studied a great deal the epidemic that is mass incarceration and just the effects that it has psychologically, spiritually, emotionally on our communities, and in particular on individuals that had that experience. And I would always say to him when we would talk about some of the things that he would some of the experiences that he's had, and even those that he worked with, some of their experiences. And I would always say, doesn't everyone that is incarcerated in that circumstance know? Because when they're inside of the institution, it is a system. And I'm like, don't they know that the system is only that bad because they play into it? Like, if they could, prison could totally change its complete operation, its the complete experience, if the individuals there would just say, we're not going to predatorize one another, we're not going to exploit one another, we're not going to. Now, it doesn't mean that people in charge or people that work there won't try to exhibit a certain, but if they turned it into a therapeutic, like, they don't have to wait for therapists, they don't have to wait for specialists or doctors. If they were loving, if they were cared, that they would shift this from being one of the most dangerous, most inhumane experiences to one of the most therapeutic, incredible experiences. And it would shift as a mass system, it would shift the way and the rites of passages of our young men and our men, and even young women and women. But it was, me, the idealist. But my thing is, the experience is only as great as the individuals in it. So they're breaking individuals down, shutting them down, way before they get into that circumstance, in order to keep it a low vibrational, horrific nightmare of an experience. But if there would just be a mind shift of, like, you can't go anywhere. People that can't go anywhere for 30 or 40 years and being stuck in a hell, instead of saying they can't go anywhere and they can't do anything about it, what they can do is shift the environment, shift the outcome, shift, saying all of that to say, I know that that's very fanciful in thought, because I know so much more goes into it than just people waking up one day and saying, we're going to be a brotherhood or a sisterhood. We're going to grow and become, like Dr. Ragland always says, a womb and not a tomb. It's not that simple, right? And I know it's the same thing with those of us that are in other types of entrapments of the society that are working through it. It's not so simple to just say you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to be a certain way, and you're going to be a certain way to others, and you're going to be a certain way with others and for others. It's not so simple. And that's why we're here today with a moment of harmony in our meiotic moments, because I want to make it more simple for you in your personal life. And I want to make it more simple for those that you're connected to, so that it can just be this simple. One thing that I'm noticing, not gonna say learning, but noticing, as we're working through all the 42 laws of Maya, and I'm sure all of you that's been tuned in have been seeing it as well. Our ancestors were big, 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 big on how we treat each other, our structure and our civilization and our becoming is greatly predicated and tested and proven. We are qualified through our interactions with others. We can sit with self and grow self. We can sit with self and heal self. We can sit with self and learn self. But it's not until we get into the circumstances of community, in the environments of family, in the environments of production and cohesiveness, that we really know who we really are, what we're really ready for, and what more work we need to do, and how far we've come. It's easy to sit and say, I read this book, or I watched this lecture, or I was a part of this circle or workshop, and now I'm going to be so much better. Yeah, until you have to be tested on your patience. You have to be tested on your modesty. You have to be tested on your humanity. You have to be tested on your maturity. And that comes in our interaction with each other. And I think the creator was very, it is everywhere all around us, how intention or how greatly intended it was for us by the creator to be well with one another, to love well, grow and develop within, for, and around to one another. So the work is the work, but this here place is a beautiful place. It is a beautiful existence. It can be the most beautiful chapter of your existence, because we have, for those that believe, the afterlife, the forelife, this circle of experience or this circle of existence. But I feel like this physical life can be one of the greatest chapters of your existence if we continue to be our greatest in every chapter of it. So thank you all again. That was a long thank you. Thank you. Listen, extraordinary, beautiful help, beautiful love, prayers, conversations, connection to my mother and what she's experiencing and her recuperation and her revising and restarting her life, and all that are connected, my brother and Baba J. Love and light to all of you all, the everything that's connected to the situation. So giving love and light and thanking everyone. You guys are beautiful and extraordinary. I've been checking on my mom, and people are just still giving and loving. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are awesome. So I have not assaulted anyone. I wanted to give that make sure that when I came on, I didn't forget to give out the love before we got into the lesson. Okay, so I have not assaulted anyone. Now, September has come in, and this is for those that are watching it in real time. This is September of 2024. I'm well aware that this won't always be in real time video, but in real time, we had a new moon come in on, was it full moon? I might be mixing up my moons. A new moon. We had a new moon come in at the beginning of September, September the 2nd. And oh my gosh, okay? I know everyone's not an astro head and everybody's not following any types of planetary alignment. No worries. I'm not going to stay there long. But what I am saying is the energy, right? Regardless of what you follow, read, or believe, you feel energy. Everyone's feeling. Everyone feels, regardless of what you call it or what you see it as. And the energy of September and the getting and the gaining of our footing in this month has been like, whoa. And at first, I always think it's just me. I'm always just like, girl, what's happening? With my self-reflections and conversations with self. But then when I'm opening up to friends and family members and we're all communicating and I'm having healing circles and I'm working with my doula clients, I am seeing like, okay, it's a little bit of energy going on in the air. And we have a lot of back to school. We have our children being reacclimated and re-socializing. We have ourselves being thrown back into certain schedules. We are coming up off of the, I guess, like summertime breeze when it comes to work and schedules and routines and just things being a little bit open. And it's just like September came right in like ready or not. And many of us were not. And so I just want to give great love and shout out to everyone that is in the midst of adjusting to so many new, like, things have just been, it's not just the children with the new classrooms and new teachers and new schedules and new grades and new expectations. It is also all of us adults, whether we're connected to children or not, that are having a newness in season and a newness in time and a space of getting ourselves together, because the holidays are like literally around the corner, and we know what that means for a new year, right? And a new season and a new resetting. So I just wanted to take a moment, because everyone might need it the way I need it, for us to just woo sigh. When I got into this law, I have not assaulted anyone. When I got into this law of my aunt, and it made me think about, wow, when we're talking about the chaoses, when we're talking about the stress, when we're talking about adjustments, when we're talking about acclamations, because we're doing that as long as we're expanding and growing. That's happening constantly in life. And when we're talking about these things, we're talking about things being maybe out of order, disheveled, being misplaced, feeling like getting it together, okay? And so you're already talking about some things feeling a little uncomfortable, things feeling a little unusual. And then you add on the way we treat each other when life is happening. And I said, wow, this, I have not assaulted anyone, is going to be a big one, right? How we're treating each other while life is already happening. We're talking about insult to injury. And when we're talking about assault, and we'll get more into this later, when we talk about assault, we're talking about assault being a physical insult. So we're talking about insult to injury. When life is already lifing, when life is already happening, when growth is already expected, or in place, when the function of becoming, the complexities, the challenges, they're inevitable and they're necessary. But then we add in the unnecessary with the necessary, right? So me having to learn and to grow, necessary. You having to demean and destroy, unnecessary. But when you add them together, what is the climate that we're all in, right? Adding insult to injury, and in this case, assault, which is the physical insult. So I was, first week of school, oh my gosh, the children are childrening. The bullies and the expectations and the self-doubt and the pressure and the goodness gracious. You know what I'm saying? But then we had the school shooting in Georgia, first or second week of school. Two teachers, two students murdered. Love and light out to their family and anyone that's experienced any type of violence in that way, but especially school shooting violences. I can remember that as the first week of school was coming in on social media, it was just ongoing, like praying for the health and well-being of our children, praying for the safety of our children. And then the news, week one, was like, this is like the season of predatory crimes. Like, they know children are going to be on bus stops, and they know, and they had all these things like, don't put your children on social media with their grade and their school and their age, and don't put their names on their book bags. Like, all of these things were happening, and it just continued to make me think, what is all this insult to injury, this unnecessary to the necessary, this extra pain, this extra despair, this extra frustration that human beings are putting onto other human beings, when we already have spiritual energy, universal alignment, and all of these things, already making sure we grow and learn. Oh, we're already making sure that we are aware and expanding. So why are we now adding in these detriments, this destruction? So when I think about this, I have not assaulted anyone. I have not assaulted anyone. And the true and incredible and immeasurable lesson this is, and declaration this is, a proclamation at the beginning of your day, and a declaration, praise and power, beautiful Mama Yatsele, and a declaration at the end of the day. And you're talking about how incredibly powerful this is. It is saying, like, on top of our ancestors are saying, if we would just, and I feel like a lot of times when we hear these laws, right, we hear, I have not assaulted anyone. It sounds so simple that we miss it. It sounds so simple that it goes over our head. It sounds so simple that we misdiagnose what is actually happening to us as a community, as a society, and how relevant these laws are to us right now. I have not assaulted anyone. And the assault on one another, whether it is bullying or it is, because that even happens in the workplace, right? That happens in marriages and relationships. The the assault that we have on one another, it's what is causing the equation of the insult that we're putting out in life, this erratic energy that we're creating in this space that is already intended for complexity, for challenge, for construction. We already are going to have to break down and build up. We already are going to have to go through and get out. But now, on top of all of that, we're having to heal wounds and be wounded in the process. And our ancestors are saying, if we would just understand how damaged our character gets in the damaging of others, how damaged our spirit gets in this damaging of others. If we could grasp that, if we could reconstruct that, we could create an environment that is more conducive to healing, more conducive to magnetizing and attracting in higher existences for ourselves, our families, our loved ones, and those that we care about. But, excuse me, y'all. I'm sorry, my throat was feeling weird. But when we're talking about diseases and the diagnoses that are coming out September, October, people being diagnosed with high blood pressure and high cholesterol and cancer and cysts and fibroids. And I mean, just all of these things are an assault on the soul. So they come from the assaults of the spirit. They come from the assault onto your psyche. And they are manifesting and they are, actualizing in the physical. And that's why something as simple as I have not assaulted anyone becomes a law of your existence for the betterment and improvement of your spirit and your character. And it not only, but if we all, my mother used to make us clean up when we used to live in various apartment complexes and things like that, or even just a neighborhood if we did live in a house. And my mother would make us get up on the weekends and take grocery bags, and we would have to go pick up trash throughout the whole. We hated this. We hated it. But my mother was letting us know we will not live in filth. We will not live in trash. And our friends would tease us and, oh, look, they cleaning up, the block cleaners and things like that. But it caused us to grow up and really detest pollution and detest the recklessness and the carelessness of others when it comes to our environment. But initially, it was just like, I used to always think all this trash out here, and the three of us, because for the most part it was Harmony Cherish and Jazz. Shout out to the trio. For the most part, it was the three of us. But all of this pollution, we would go into the neighborhood or walk throughout the entire complex, the apartment complex, the places we didn't even live, and I would think like, we didn't even do this trash. We don't. But if all the children out here making fun of us and watching us clean up, if everybody just would pick up one piece of trash instead of the three of us cleaning up this whole situation, how much easier and better would it be for us all? Rich Risings, my beautiful bestie. How much better would this be for us all? I say the same thing with my children, right? There's a lot of people that live up here in my house when it comes to my crew. Then I always say, instead of me going around picking up after y'all, seeing things, I know you walked past it. I know you saw this on the floor. I know you put this on the floor, or put this on the table, or put this on the nightstand. And my thing would be like, if we all, this is the message I'm always trying to get through to if we all just did our part, if you just picked up one thing you saw that came across your path and your vision, if you put one thing back in place where it doesn't belong, we will have a healthier, happier, clearer space of living and being. And I remember thinking that too. All this trash out here, and three of us have to clean it up. When there's 20 children on the playground, and if everybody just picked up one thing, we're not talking about something arduous at this point. We're not talking about something laborious at that point. We are talking about a ease and a movement of chaos with just minimal effort. And I'm saying we're working harder for what it is that we need. We're working harder for the simple necessities of growth and development, of pleasant and peace in our life. We're working harder because we aren't working together. And because we aren't taking on, if I just did my part, I can't control whether or not a school shooting happened in Georgia. And I can't control whether or not, people are being disrespected and hurt. And we all have social media. We all are exposed and privy to more things than I think any generation in existence has ever been able to see. I was just thinking this morning, like even being able to date in other states and or meeting people in other states and do revolutionary community work and link up with people from other places and see what they're doing and get involved, like all the things we are able to do positively and negatively because of our access now. But even in our access, we're able to see the egregiousness, right, of people beating each other or tricking each other, and people getting caught on tape attempting to rape or kidnap, like the things that we can see in real life. Real life. I was someone that sent out a video that went viral of a young man being jumped at a he was being jumped at a birthday party, and he ended up fighting all of them. They attempted to jump him, they were not successful, and and people were standing around like, oh my God, he's taking on 7 people by himself. But my thing is the psyche, right? My thing is the spirit. And again, like I said, if we all just understand how we damage ourselves when we damage others, and when we consume and are exposed to damage, what it does to our spiritual vibration as far as it being heightened in order for us to have heightened experiences. So I have not assaulted anyone becomes a major it becomes a major component to just the overall peace of our existence. It becomes a major component to the overall ease of us. It's easier to attract, listen, Don't Worry, Be Happy, Bob Marley, my birthday twin, those individuals who go through life and they are extremely intentional about keeping a heart as light as a feather. That's a difficult thing. But when you have a light heart, you attract a light life, right? And this is why our ancestors will let us know on Judgment Day, metaphorically or, what is it? Theoretically, or however you choose to believe that. But they're saying that when it comes down to that time of where you'll be, within yourself, and when a time comes for you to be a certain way, they said your heart should be lighter than the feather when it gets on the scale, lighter than a feather. So those individuals that get to a point of keeping peace, of keeping light, of keeping understanding, are attracting. You see, it's not that you just get a light heart. Your heart stays light in alignment with the environment around you. And this is why this becomes a daily struggle of learning and becoming and expanding, because you're trying, one moment you're like, whew, okay, paid that bill, put out that fire, dealt with that situation. And here comes something else. If you are, now you have to recondition yourself or recontrol yourself in order to keep a certain environment or a way of being. But what we are understanding through our lessons and through our becoming is that the environment is greatly dictated on the condition of the inside. We are controlling the outside instead of allowing the outside to control us. Now, if we are constantly being exposed to things that are injuring our spirit, assaulting our psyche and intelligence, assaulting and being destructive and attacking our ideals and our desires, then we are constantly, Ashe and good morning, and we are constantly having to battle with the lightness of our heart, which means we are constantly battling what we can attract into our lives. So I have not assaulted anyone. I know we've seen things, heard things, been a part of things where we could say, I could have gone my whole life without being a part of that interaction, without seeing that, without having that on my spirit. And the reason is because the weight of what it weighs. So going into assault, and again, like I said, this assault, the way we treat one another, the harm that we administer to one another or that we entertain in life, period, is not only making us heavy, but it's blocking what we can attract to us that will keep us light and make us lighter, thus becoming a law of Mayat, thus making the roster of a law of existence and growth. I have not assaulted anyone. I have life is already going to provide and apply the pressure. It's already going to apply the necessary. I do not have to go and inflict the unnecessary in addition to what life is already needing me to do. It is keeping us heavy. It is keeping us low. It is weighing on our spirits, and it is damaging us to witness damage. It damages us to experience damage. It damages us to perpetuate damage to one another. So I have not assaulted anyone. I broke it down into this one saying that we've all heard throughout all of our childhood and over throughout life, and that is keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands to yourself, okay? Kindergarten, preschool, even in the house before we got to school, you keep your hands to yourself. And essentially, I wanted us to focus on this with the I have not assaulted anyone for various reasons. But before we get into those reasons, I added on to this this lesson that we've taken with us through life as a right to, or a wrong way of being. I've added on from keep your hands to yourself to keep your hands and your harm to yourself. Keep your hands and your harm to yourself and then heal it. So I have not assaulted anyone. We're going to break that down in today into keep your hands and your harm to yourself. Now, the first part of that, keep your hands to yourself. Now, I'm a touchologist, okay? I teach touch. I am the queen of touch. I am a touch expert, okay, of sorts. I do touch therapy on many different levels when it comes to my doula clients, but also on just levels, period. I believe in the power of touch. I believe in the beauty of touch and the intention of touch, okay? Now, it's my love language. You know, when people say, what's your love language? Touch, okay? I can't feel you unless I can feel you. That's how I get through life. I need to feel you to know who and what you are, and that's how I feel the situation out, right? Touch and the power of touch are like major for me. So when I have a law that comes across for us to dissect and navigate that says I have not assaulted anyone, one of the first things that comes to mind for me, thank you, Wooski. One of the first thing that comes to mind for me is assault is a violent act, which is a violent physical act. Now, we have emotional violence that we talked about, that my reading circle when we went in through the book Worthy. So we do have other elements of assaulting people. But in the basic sense of assault, we're talking about violent attack or physical act of violence. The first thing that comes to mind when I hear assault is the misuse of touch. The misuse and the power and the divinity of touch. You have the ability. We have hands, we have fingers, we have skin, we have senses, we have nerves. All of these things indicated that touch was going to be a major part of our human physical experience, that we were going to learn things, that we were going to heal things, that we were going to grow things, that we were going to create things. And we know that we were intended to do these things because of our ability to touch. And not only the ability and the capability, but the power that actually, so we all have the ability to touch someone. But then there comes this power beyond the physical, right? Beyond the hands of what happens when we do. There's so many times, everybody knows probably, if you follow me, I have a 2-year-old grandgirl, and oh, all the dramatics. She is so dramatic. She gets it honestly, but she I spent a lot of time with her, and she is so, oh, it's the end of the world. Oh, I can't. And all it takes is for EI to touch. Soon as I touch her, she gets all, now she's all better. There's times when I know nothing is really wrong with her. She just needs to be touched. And I believe that in the rawest and the truest and the most innocent of forms, babies show us that. They calm with us, holding them. We rub their hair. We constantly are inclined to rub and stroke and coddle babies and children because they are growing. And we understand when they're tiny that this is a very imperative component to their growth and their development. Children, there have been much research on children that are not touched either by words or hands consistently and lovingly, and the traumatic and dramatic effect it has on their physical, emotional, and spiritual growth and development. We are inclined to love physically on infants and toddlers and children because we know that it is necessary for their growth, their nervous system, their adjustment. Guys, mommy is live. Mommy mercy. Their nervous system, their adjustments to life, their learning of life. We know that and listen, same thing for those pet lovers out there. We just had a little kitten in the house, and how afraid they are until you rub and certain areas you can touch to foster trust. Certain areas you can touch to foster receptivity, because touch is powerful. When we get into assault, we have misused a power. We have exploited an advantage over others by hurting people physically. Now, many of us will say that we don't on a regular basis, like we're not hitting people. Maybe if you're a parent, you probably pop in somebody every now and again, your prerogative. But for the most part, you're not a boxer. You're probably not hitting people regularly. That's what I would say would be a general consensus of most people. I don't assault anyone. But here is the thing. Touching people exploitively, meaning for selfish gain, not being reciprocal, not being genuine, not being sincere. This is a misuse. This is an assault on someone. Withholding your touch, your ability to love and care and nurture for someone in a physical way when it's needed is a misuse of touch. So these way are all assaults to a spirit in need, or to a person in need, or a life in need. And I would again like to say, we are not wrongfully. Kingdom, first week of school, he was punched. He's gonna be mad that I said this, but he had a bullying situation and someone hit him first week of school. And so on one way, I'm saying, are we genuinely hitting each other? Are we hurting each other on a regular basis? But then I turn on the news, or I'm going through social media and I'm listening to my children in high school and elementary school, and I'm hearing the language of the children in the neighborhood, and I'm like, Assault has become a way of being. Even if it's not flat out boxing, we are misusing touch. One of the most prominent and one of my most favorite, and this is going to shock a lot of people because of how much I love physical touch, but one of my favorite form of touch is touch with no hands. The ability to touch someone with your words, your thoughts, your deeds, or your spirit, your energy. This all goes hand in hand. And my thing is, we are in constant assault mode as a society. We are quick to cut somebody out at a light. We want to cut somebody off in a line. We want to just the inappropriateness of our ability to connect and our inappropriateness of our ability to appropriately conduct the power of the energy of touch and connection and relation is causing us to greatly be assaulting one another regularly, regularly, to the point where we don't even see it as a big deal. Take that before they get it. Don't touch my. We just don't even see and are cognizant of the way and the powers of self and how we are exploiting or misusing them with others and how we are assaulting one another on a regular basis. Keep your hands and your harm to yourself. Do not go out into this space of others and inappropriately, aggressively, egregiously, or destructively touch anyone. I don't care if it's their belongings on their desk or their car. The other day, somebody put a wad of gum out their mouth and stuck it to the back of my car. And it probably was a child because there's a lot of children in my neighborhood. But in the same vein, it wasn't a big deal. It was disgusting because I'm a germaphobe. But it's on the outside of the car. But the bigger thing is the lack of awareness that we're having with one another. And it is causing us, yes, mama, she said, we've normalized assault. It is causing us to be consistent in the assault of one another. It's a small thing at first. It's the taking of our parking space. It's the cutting off in a conversation. It's the ignoring of a need or a part you can play in someone's life. It's small at first. And then it works up bigger, bigger, and bigger. Then it turns into denying physical affection and intimacy to your partner, or denying love and attention to your children or your loved ones or yourself. These things all grow into a major attack on your spirit, harm on your life, and then you continue to continue to magnetize and attract this assault, this atrocity, this pain, and put you in a perpetual state of having to heal instead of just being in a perpetual state of being allowed to be. Keep your hands and your harm to yourself. Assault is an abuse of the power of touch. Do not touch people in a way that harms them. Do not touch people in a way that exploits them. Do not touch people in a way that destroys them. This is what our ancestors are saying. You're touching destructively. Your hands that were made to create, your strength that was made to protect, your ability to heal and construct, you're choosing to destroy, destruct, you're choosing to confuse, you're choosing to cause harm, blood, bruise, discontent, discomfort. There is nothing more comfortable than touch. Nothing calms my spirit. Nothing makes me feel safer. Nothing makes me feel calmer and greater and supported and more loved than literally being lovingly and appropriately touched. All is literally right with my world when that happens. Whether it is just a snuggle with my little bunchky munchkies, or it is in my sister touching and holding my back when I'm upset, or just because I'm here and I love you and I'm close to you. You're alive and you're not alone. I'm here. Or if it is romantic and loving and supportive, all of it builds you up to the highest point of yourself, because it is a constant reassurance in the connection. We're always talking about energy, which I greatly believe in it. And energy is an invisible, if you will, connection, an invisible electricity, an invisible binder, a connector. We're talking about the physical. Touch is a physical binder. It is a physical connector. And we know this because there are things, what we care about, we touch all the time. How many times have you touched your phone since it's 11:07? How many times have you touched your phone this morning? Because if it's important to you, you put your energy into it. And you can't put your energy into it until you touch it. Right? Probably more than you touched anything. How many times have you touched your refrigerator door? How many times have you touched the bathroom door? The things that you need, the things that are important. How many times have you touched your remote control this week? You touch what matters, because there is power and authority in touch. There is control and conduction in touch. And when our ancestors say, I have not assaulted anyone, I have not inappropriately used my power. Slap, punch, pinch, push. And those are the more extreme, the violence, more violence. But we know there are many ways to attack, verbally, emotionally. Silent treatment is an attack. Criticism, unwarranted, unnecessary, malicious, envious. These things are attacks. They are assaults. They are assault. Insult and assault is the physical insult. It is what is actually happening, the physical effect of your insult. You being an insult or insulting others. So the misuse of touch is greatly connected to this law, I have not assaulted anyone. Lastly, or the second part of that, because remember I added on to it, keep your hands. And then I said, and your harm. So keep your hands to yourself is the misuse of the physical touch. But keep your harm to yourself is the insult to injury that we spoke of earlier, right? It's the insult to injury. It is the unnecessary on top of the necessary, and it is making the deliberate, intentional, or just reckless, making life harder for others and yourself. Because trust me, there is not one thing as mirroring individuals. So we always talk about how we're one with Source. We are one with the Creator. We are a reflection of the Creator. Do you think that you are a one-way mirror? Do you think that you only reflect the Creator? Because that's not how mirrors work, right? Unless you got a mirror that's been, manipulated in a tricky mirror. Mirrors don't just reflect the one thing. Mirrors reflect. Right now, I'm looking at a camera that is showing me in my chair, but it's also showing my wall, and it's showing my frame. It's showing a part of my window. Anything that's in view, it's going to reflect. So I want you to know that you're reflecting anything in your view. You are not a one-way mirror. You cannot just reflect God and good, and don't think you're not reflecting any negative and things that you shouldn't be reflecting. Anything that is low vibrational. If it's in your view, you have the ability to reflect it, and we absolutely are reflecting each other. So when we're talking about assaulting and being unnecessary, causing unnecessary harm with others, being rude and disrespectful, please believe that the words leave your mouth and affect you just the same. Remember I said, damn, you are underestimating. The reason that we have this law from our ancestors is because you are underestimating the damage you cause to self when you damage others. You are underestimating the damage you cause to your spirit and your reality when you damage other people's spirits or reality. You think you're going to steal from someone? You think you're going to lie to someone? You think you're going to exploit and misuse someone, and you have only projected that type of power outward? A mirror does not just reflect one thing. You reflect all things in your atmosphere, what you put in it and what you allow in it. And we are needing to be more cognizant of the effects of our energy towards others. And we're needing to be more cognizant of the energy of our heart or the weight of our heart based on what we're allowing to sit in it or what we're allowing to give out to it. Insult to injury. Insult to injury. An assault being the physical form of insults. So many of us are in a place where, as we're trying to grow and develop, let's say some of you may be trying to figure out, like I say, we don't think that we're assaulting others on a regular basis. We don't think like, yeah, I'm not just out here popping people, slapping people, but we are thinking about it. Some of us are thinking about hitting people. Some of us are thinking about losing our cool. Some of us are thinking about causing harm to other people's property, vehicles, or that may be a thing. Something may be going on with you, but understand that when that is happening, what is happening to your spirit, what is happening to the weight of your heart. And remember, a light heart draws in a light life. So it's happening to the weight of your heart to hold and harbor thoughts and ideas in that way. And so when we feel like we get into this law, I have not assaulted anyone, many of us feel like we can get through that day, that law pretty easy. I can get through the day without assaulting anyone. But in the fullest capacity, we really aren't always. What is it again that you are consuming and the damage that you're being a part of and that you're connecting to? So the point that I want us to finish up with is this, because we are going into a long moment. I have to decide what I want to put in the moment now because it's running out. But I want to end on this point. I feel like we can sum everything up that I want to say with this. There must be maturity in your making when it comes to wanting to get a hold of the way we see each other, wanting to be better, more highly vibrational in the way that we're treating each other. When we veer away from assaulting, keep your hands and your harm to yourself. Keep your hands and your harm to yourself. Harm in your words, harm in your actions, harm in your thoughts. Keep those things. Then we want to be made, Tina Turner, I want to be made over. We want to be making ourselves. One of the biggest points of our healing and our growing is to have a life that we're happy with. Have a life that we are healed in. Have a life that we are open and satisfied with. And many of us are unlearning, relearning, remaking our lives to reflect what it is we truly desire. And the great reason for rectifying our character and putting ourselves in a good standing and an alignment is because we are tired of drawing in ridiculous, horrific experience. We're tired of being in the same patterns and processes, and we want to create something better. So as we are making ourselves, what this law is saying, even though it sounds funny to say keep your hands to yourself at our big old ages and keep your harm to yourself, don't project. Do not stop projecting your insecurities on others. Stop projecting your issues and your pain onto others. Stop being reckless and harmful to others, lying, gaslighting, manipulating, misleading. Assault is happening every single day. And that's what I want us to really be super duper cognizant of. We are harmful to each other, creating an existence that we cannot stomach and digest and survive. Well, how about we make a life we can survive in, or a life we don't have to survive? We can just live and thrive. And that's going to come in us putting maturity in our making. There must be maturity in our making. Those that work with children, like myself, or have worked with children, or those that have great connections to children, like a parent, like myself, one of the biggest things, children are immature. That's why we're growing in them and they're developing. They don't have all of their glands developed. They don't have all of their thought process developed. They are young and they are immature. And so they operate in immaturity. They operate in the lack of understanding and knowledge. Right? And they're so dang cute. That's why the creator made them so dang cute, so that we can have great patience with their immaturity. As a growing, developing man or woman, growing into your greatest seasons and lives of existence, we are expected to operate in maturity. In maturity. But we are much exemplifying immaturity. We have great arrested development, and the system is set up, this society is set up to greatly arrest our development, because mature people are independent. Mature people are progressive. Mature people are healthy and healed and whole. And how can a capitalistic society survive if we're all like that? You know what I'm saying? So immaturity is pushed. Immaturity is glamorized. Immaturity is rewarded, right? It's okay. It's normal. You know, if you're broken, if you're not okay, if you're not well, so is all these other people. But I'm wanting us to say we need to mature our making. I have not assaulted anyone. That can only come in a maturized being. I was just talking to Wisdom, my 18-year-old today, about his name is Rich Homie Quan. I had heard the name before, but I wasn't really familiar with him as a rapper, but I knew they said he overdosed in his 30s. And I was talking to Wisdom about it because I know he's into the rap and really in the music. So I was just kind of like, what is this? Who is he? And he started to tell me all the songs that he wrote. And it's songs I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know. I had that on my story. But just getting to the point of living in a life where you are going after success, surviving trauma, trying to move through, but not completely maturizing yourself, and really setting yourself up for a pain, setting yourself up for a cycle, setting yourself up for a destruction, because you are trying to grow externally, when internal maturizing is what is most important. You're building up your bank account. You're building up your wardrobe. You're building up the amount of cars in your garage, but you are not building up the you on the inside. You are not growing that broken child into an adult. And so now you are a child with blessings. Now you are a child with gains. You are a child with material wealth. And who would trust a child with wealth? I said that to Wisdom this morning. What does it, because, he's going after his career. And he said, Ma, that's why I want to stay focused. I don't ever want to get too caught up in stuff. I said, trust, your mama going to keep you focused, boy. You don't have to worry about that. All of y'all are going to be spiritually connected as long as I have breath in my body, because this is what I told him. This saying, what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Silver and gold, right? The maturity in your making is what will dictate how you're made. Harmony Original. The maturity in your making is what will dictate how you're made. You're made tough, you're made strong, you're made loyal, you're made righteous. It is the maturity in the making. And what do I mean by that? Like I said, when it comes to the children, two things children always are saying when it comes to conflict and issues. Two favorite things that children go to in their immaturity. They always say they don't know, and they always say they don't care. Those two things. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. Why did you do that? I don't know. What is the answer to that homework question? I don't know. What do you need to do next? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then I don't care, especially the teenagers. Oh my goodness. You know what's going to happen if you, I don't care. If you don't put that down as I don't care. Okay, well now you're not going to be able to, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Okay? Trust me, if you're an educator or a parent or a community member, a family member, listen, you've heard it from the little people 1,000 times. I don't know and I don't care. These are positions of immaturity. They really don't know. And they really don't have enough understanding to care. I'm not saying they don't know the answers to the questions you're asking them. They play with us. And I'm not saying they don't care about their environment. I'm saying on a very basic level, they really don't have all of the answers and information. They really don't have the understanding and ability. So they really, in a lot of areas, don't know or don't care. They're using them, facetiously. I don't know, I don't care. But those are the main two go-tos for children in conflict, in problem, in stress, and an issue. I don't know and I don't care. When I talk about us maturizing our making, we should never be in a position, right? We should never be in a position as grown adults, growing, learning, and becoming, trying, healing, and working, and be in a position where we don't know and we don't care. Because we're maturizing our making. And we're putting maturity in the mix of our growing and our developing. We're focusing in on maturizing our responses, maturizing our standpoints, being mature enough not to project, to say, you know what, you don't feel like you should be the person to speak up right now because you're not in a healthy space. Maturity. You don't feel like you should be in this energy with other people because you don't know that you can be on your best behavior. You are assessing yourself. Maturity. You're going to say what is needed to be said and not saying the unnecessary that's going to cause pain for no reason. Out of reactionary or rhetoratory. Right? Maturity. We should never be in a position when it comes to causing assault or assaulting one another. We are assaulting each other because we are being comfortable in not knowing and not caring. And we must grow past that point. Our ancestors say, I will not assault anyone. At the end of the day, I have not assaulted anyone. I have done what I know and I know better. I have sought after what I don't understand and I have gained knowledge to know better. You know better than to treat people the way that you're treating people. You know not to talk to your mate like that. You know not to exploit or to lie and to be deceptive. You know. So to be operating in the don't know as a grown person is irrational and it is insult to injury. And the don't care. I don't care about them. That's not my house. That's not my car. Those aren't my children. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they think. That's their problem. Sounds like a personal problem. Too old to be operating in the don't care. Because you grasp the ability. You're developed. You grasp the ability for comprehension, for understanding, and empathy. Those abilities are there for you. You might have some trauma to work through. You may have some healing to work through. But then that goes back to the no. I sought, I seek to understand, to grow, and to comprehend. So I don't know and I don't care are not mature concepts. They're not mature places of being. I hear children say them all the time. I should only hear children say them all the time. because we have a different ability with wisdom, with experience, with understanding, with maturity. So a lot of times the assault that we're putting on ourselves and to others are coming from our comfortability and a lack of knowledge and information, just ignorance, and our comfortability and a lack of empathy and connection and caring to one another. You can slap somebody that you don't care about in that way, with the harm, what the effects were going to be. You can, the reason, like the black on black crime, or putting a gun in somebody's head for a pair of shoes, or stealing an Amazon package off somebody's porch, or again, taking somebody's parking space and say they should have been da 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 da. A lack of care. We are causing insult because of the lack of maturity in our making, and we will rectify assault. We will rectify, we will bring balance, mayat, to chaos. We will bring balance to existence. We will behave as adults. We will behave as matured individuals who are hormonally and informationally developed. Right? Part of being an adult means you're not just walking around with big old everything else, okay, that little children are waiting on, but you also have a bigger heart and you have a bigger brain. Those things grew too. They should have. And we are needing to exude that and reflect that and express that. That in my purity and in my maturing, more than just my body grew. More than just my hair or my feet grew. My hearts grew. My brain grew. My patience grew. My problem solving skills, they grew. Things grew as I grew. And there needs to be more maturity in our making in order for us to get to the point where we are not being assaulting one another, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. Financial assault, exploitation, harm, pain, degradation to one another. I have not assaulted anyone. I have not assaulted anyone. I have kept my hands and my harm to myself. And because I'm divine, I took it a step farther and I healed it. If I had it. If I had hurt, I healed it. If I had harm, I healed it. Mature and divine. Okay, look at that. Look at the dot in that I. Okay? Thank you all for joining me for another Moment of Harmony. I look forward to another moment with you next week. Go on out your way. Take really good care of yourself. Take really, really great care of yourself. Guys, take really great care of yourself. The lack of sleep, the changing of the seasons, the immunity going down, the feelings coming in, the thoughts taking over. We want to be made over. We're making it over. Okay? We are creators, manifestors. We are magnificent, pun intended to the baby brother, in our thoughts and our beingness. We are extraordinary. And we're going to go ahead and take so much better care of ourselves. You can't sleep at night, get you a good workout in throughout the day. I bet you go to sleep. I know my good workout days, I'll sleep great, okay? Drink you some hot tea in the morning to help with all the sinuses and everything. Get your immunity boosters going and your elderberry and your oil of oregano. Get yourself together, okay? Take good care of yourself. Do not add unnecessary onto the necessary. Take good care of yourself. And then, by all means, go on out your way to take really good care of someone else. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next week for another Moment of Harmony.